Hi, this is Pastor Jamie with Covenant Church with another sermon recap. Now, we are going to talk about this past Sunday as we continued our series in the book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 2, verses 1 through 11. We talked about the pursuit of happiness and the warning that comes with it. Now, don't get me wrong. I know when you hear about a sermon against us being happy, it can sound like it's just going to be a bummer. This isn't about happy moments. I'm a happy person. I would like to say I'm happy the majority of the time. But we see Solomon talking about his relentless pursuit of happiness, of pleasure. And we see in chapter 2, verses 1 through 11, how Solomon kind of recounts all the stuff that he has. He has palaces, he has forests, he has lakes dug out. We see him talk about his money, his concubines, his slaves. And then he says all of these things are a part of the delight of the sons of men. And yet, we don't see him satisfied with that. He even said in this passage that everything his eyes wanted, he got. You see, this is the very definition of a word that we would call hedonism. Now, hedonism is that the relentless pursuit of pleasure should be the ultimate goal. It is a constant quest for pleasure and satisfaction. And then we see him say this, "And then I considered all that my hands had done and the toil that I had expended in doing it, and behold, all was vanity and striving after wind, and there was nothing to be gained under the sun." We see that even in his relentless pursuit of pleasure, he was left wanting, he was left discouraged. We talked about how the world that we live in today has noticed this trend. This is not just a Christian way of thinking, but that this philosophy can still leave you wanting. Psychologist Elizabeth Lombardo said in Nature Human Behavior publication, she says this: "The quest for more and more is the treadmill effect. We think external things we buy will bring us happiness, but then we get them and we wonder what's next." The problem with this, of course, is that plenty of research shows that most material possessions don't make us happier. You see, the deepest pleasures are derived from interpersonal love, warm relationships, giving, appreciation, and gratitude. You see, that was not a Christian publication, and I'm not sure if that's a Christian researcher, but the world that we live in today notices this trend that just because you have a lot of things, it doesn't make you happy. In fact, those things could lead to our discouragement in a lot of ways. Trying to catch up with other people, trying to get to the next feeling. You see, we talked about the big issue with trying to make pleasure satisfaction is that happiness and pleasure, they are momentary things. They're not bad things. They're just momentary. They're here 1 second and gone the next. But we see that people, especially Solomon, were trying to stretch out that feeling, that momentary feeling, into a permanent state, and it left them wanting. The reason is none of those things are permanent. It's like chasing down a high. When you try to make that your permanent state, at some point you realize that you have a problem. People that struggle with alcoholism are trying to match a feeling and to make it last. People that struggle with drug addiction are trying to match a feeling and make it last. And people that are striving for the next big thing, they're chasing after trying to make a feeling or a material gain something that will last over eternity, and it just won't. It's not me being depressing, it's me being realistic. So this sermon was not about not being happy. It was understanding that there is something better than momentary pleasure or momentary happiness. Ultimately, we have the ability to be content. Happiness is based off of your circumstances, where contentment is in spite of your circumstances. We talked about what the Apostle Paul said in Philippians 4:11 through 13. Not that I am speaking of being in need, for I have learned whatever situation I am to be content. I know how to be brought low, and I know how to abound. In any and every circumstance, I have learned the secret of facing plenty and hunger, abundance and need. I can do all things through Him who strengthens me. If we know that everybody in the world that strives to make happiness permanent, if we know that they're going to be discouraged, we as Christians have something really positive to offer. And that is a relationship with Jesus Christ. Ultimately, our satisfaction or our joy needs to be anchored in the one source that won't let us down, that won't move, and that is the person of Jesus. This God that desperately wanted a relationship with us, that He found us, that He chased after us, that's the only source of being satisfied. You see, the end result is looking to God to give us the satisfaction that this world cannot provide. What is your satisfaction anchored in? Is it anchored in chasing the next big thing, the next big pleasure? Or is your satisfaction anchored in a God that desperately loves you and desperately wants you? Come join us this Sunday. Not just to hear a sermon or not just to sing a song, but to be introduced to this God that we desperately love. Thank you for tuning in to another sermon recap. Hopefully we'll see you this Sunday at 10:15. Have a wonderful day. Bye.